Now.
Right. Welcome everyone to the Asia Farm Animal Day 2022, which is organized by the Asia for Animals, the Farm Animal Coalition. As you may know, like the majority of farm animals and fish on planet Earth are raised in Asia. Every single one of these billions of animals are living sentient individuals with needs, but the vast majority of them do not have their needs met, and they suffer because of that. So every 10th of October, we will unite the people and NGO of Asia to make visible the importance and urgency of this issue. And it's my privilege to have you all here in session 2, where we will hear our speaker talk about how they are engaging and training the next generation of animal advocates to help the animals, the farm animals in Asia. And in this session, we'll have 3 presentations and followed by a 15-minute Q&A. And please send any question that you might have for our speaker using the Q&A button so that they can be addressed later. And it's now my privilege, like ultimate pleasure, to introduce to you the 3 amazing speakers. The first speaker will be Ms. Xiaoya Liu. She's the Executive Director of the Caring for Life Children's Education from ACTAsia. Ms. Xiaoya has a strong background in education, and she is also a qualified teacher herself. She has much experience in educating organizations such as the Hong Kong Charitable Foundation, the Shenzhen iRead Foundation, the Franny Community Promotion Association, and so on. ACTAsia, ACTAsia, Ms. Xiaoya runs the Caring for Life program in China, where 9 pioneer schools are modeling the use of the curriculum in which has been delivered to over 110,000 children in China. And the second speaker we have today is Ms. Wenyi Jiang, who is the co-founder of the Effective Altruism Singapore. EA Singapore is a part of a global movement focused on doing the most good to one's career, one project, and donations. And the community is impact-oriented and uses the careful reasoning in choosing how to spend their time and money to do good. One is also co-leading the Southeast Asia Farm Animal Welfare Fellowship, which is a program that aims to reach out to and empower more individuals in dedicating their career in solution for industrial animal agriculture issues in the region. Wenyi has a background in psychology and sociology, and I was privileged to be a part of, to be one of the fellows in the most recent Southeast Asia Farm Animal Welfare Fellowship, and it was great, I have to say. I would encourage everyone to attend the course. And our first speaker is Ms. Yu Huo-yong, the Youth Program Officer from Good Food Fund. He is also currently working at the UN Food System Summit, the Action Track to China Action Hub, where he spends most of his time building youth advocates network and empowering the youth. Mr. Yu Huo graduated from University of New Brunswick and had some experience internship with the Green Party, which has exposed him to the world of sustainable development. He then worked with also a local food manufacturers to provide affordable, functional food for the local communities, and that where he then realized the intricacies and problems within the food system and the importance of food in solving all kinds of social issues, ranging from climate change, equity, human and animal rights, public health, and the list go on. Now I leave the stage for Ms. Xiaoya Liu, who introduced to you her great work. But unfortunately, because of the internet connection in China, she could not join the Zoom today, but she has sent us the pre-record, so I will now play her record to you all. Okay.
Hi everyone, this is Echo from ACTAsia. It's our pleasure to introduce what we are doing on engaging and training the next generation of animal advocates. ACTAsia has three main programs: children's education, consumer education. You may have heard about our free work, and professional education. This presentation has a focus on our children's education program, Caring for Life curriculum for primary schools. There is overlap with the teacher training that goes alongside this program from our professional education program. We are experiencing a global climate crisis, educational inequality, human conflicts, loss of biodiversity, and the tremendous industry animal suffering. To help address our global challenges in animal, people, and environment, we need to understand the interconnections between the three and address the root cause as a whole. Education is a key to promote a compassionate and One Health approach. Through our education of children, consumers, and professionals, ACTAsia drives long-term sustainable change for animal, people, and the environment. In China, learning compassion and kindness to all living things from an early age is not given. The previous one-child policies and mass urban migration leaves millions of children living in remote rural areas without their parents to guide them are just some of the reasons why. But in classrooms across China, ACTAsia is helping to drive long-term sustainable change. The education system in China, and I think is common across Asia, is academic, subject, and achievement-driven. Extra tuition classes, pressure for children to succeed and get grades through relentless testing and examination adds to a pressure on even primary school age children that affects their mental health. Our approach is very different to the traditional education system. In most Asian countries, rather than telling children what is right and wrong, through this curriculum, we develop their critical thinking and empathy so that in the future, whatever issue they are faced with, they can decide for themselves what is right or wrong. We teach them how to think and not what to think. For example, we didn't tell them all their factory farming is wrong and becoming vegetarian vegan is right. We wouldn't be allowed to voice pro-vegan message directly in schools in China. Instead, we develop their compassion and empathy for animals. We teach them about the impact of farming on animals and the environment, and we provide them with all the tools to make their own informed decision. Caring for Life primary curriculum. Its goal is to be adopted into the national curriculum in China or any country. The course is delivered for every child. The target audience is children in grades 1 to grade 6, age 6 to 12, with a view that they are developing core qualities of empathy, responsibility, and critical thinking in the future decision makers of the coming generations. The target location is Asia. The location from 2012 to present is China. However, the course is flexible and adaptable to language and culture context. The approach to launching the project is also dependent upon the country. In China, we start from a bottom-up approach, starting with partnerships with individual schools, and then connecting from there to local authority schools, and more recently to be recognized by the provincial education bureaus. So we are working our way towards the education system and the larger policy decisions. In Pakistan, a partnership starts from 2019. The course has been translated and adapted for culture and religion norms. Here, the course has been put in place with the partnership of the local government for Sindh province. With our local partner, Sindh Education Foundation and NGO join hands, being party to training of teachers and sharing of lesson plans. This highlights two different approaches where the integrity of the course remains the same. 5 subject area and 3 things from the UNESCO pillars of education. Know the world, sense the world, and participate in the world. The 5 subject area are the web of life, which examining an individual responsibility for the world we share. Lesson examining real-world environmental problems and the impact on humans and animals. This practical unit considers the cost and benefits of modern living and allows students to consider solutions. The next subject is Sentient Beings. The unit encourages examination of the feeling and the needs of animals and draws comparison with our own species. Students will compare the behavior and activity and ability of various species of animals and insects. A theme of the learning is to consider the impact of animal captivity on the emotional and the physical well-being of animals. Care and respect. This subject promotes respect across race, cultures, nationalities, and species. Students are encouraged to consider how they can best care for others. The context of pet ownership is used to consider the development of respectful relationships. Students are provided practical knowledge on best care for different types of animals, including endangered species and domestic pets. Interacting with others. These subjects examine a number of interactions that students may encounter. Students are asked to consider how they can ensure their own safety when interacting with common animals and insects. Lessons use the examples of rabies to highlight negative outcomes of interaction and contrast with positive interaction. For example, guide dogs working with people of impaired vision. Person-to-person interactions are also considered through the respectful engagement with elderly people and those who live with a disability. The last subject is emotional intelligence, which uses a succession of real-world scenarios to allow students to practice the key skills of empathy and compassion. Through walking in the shoes of others, students learn to understand how they can make a difference and become an everyday hero. The CFL curriculum includes 6 years of lesson plans and the education film together. The course includes a spiral curriculum that is built upon over each year of primary education, returning to prior learning and including their own life experience. The course offers 10 lessons plans per year that can either be delivered as a lesson in its own or as part of an academic lesson such as math, science, geography, art, ethics. The possibilities are endless. We advocate that this becomes its own lesson with time allocated, as our pioneer schools do. We do insist our lessons are delivered by qualified teachers, as our professional education aim is to strengthen the profession. For teachers, in addition to this material, we also have a curriculum standards document and a curriculum framework and guidelines documents. This is necessary as teachers in China are often trained in rote pedagogy. And this course uses inquiry-led and facilitation to help students learn how to think, not what to think. Alongside the 10 lessons, our course has 2 enrichment modules, climate change and biodiversity. These were written in 2020 with a view to have a focus on this issue and bring together more of what is it within the course itself. This will give opportunities for energizing the discussion and emphasize current issue the world is facing. Here is the curriculum mapping of enrichment topics. Caring for life links to the environment and biodiversity and the farm animals. Enriched modules of climate change and biodiversity also include farm animal. Here is a lesson plan's example. We focus on the needs of animals. The main aim is for students to understand the basic needs of animals and humans and to exercise empathy for them. Potential students' inquiries include sharing experience of animals in captive, and whether an animal with shelter, food, and water will be satisfied or needs more. The images seen above are for students to use cards and assess the needs of animals in each picture. Like, does the goat need a bicycle? Does the pig need a toy? And here are more lesson plans example. It is in the climate change. And here is the more example. Show what our CFL curriculum looks like. Our process for caring for life is simple and complex.
Okay, that's very great to hear about the training program from ACTAsia, who trained the young kids about animals and about respecting the life. And their program is much longer than that, and much more impressive. But if you have any questions, just please contact us or ACTAsia for more information. We are aware that only 50 minutes cannot highlight enough, like the amazing work that people do. But now I'll leave the floor for Wani from EA Singapore to introduce another great work in teaching the next generation of animal advocacy. The floor is yours, Wani.
Thanks, Tan. Hi, everyone. So I'm Wani from Effective Altruism Singapore. And what we do is a little different. We focus on Southeast Asia and we focus on adults. So we're happy to share with you one of our programs that we've launched last year. It's the Southeast Asia Farm Animal Welfare Fellowship. This fellowship is targeting 6 countries in this region. And so we have fellows, participants, as well as partners from these countries as part of our program. The reasons that people join, the fellows who join the fellowship as they try to get more into the area of farm animal welfare and protection movement is to help increase the knowledge. This fellowship helps to have more structure in learning more about the issues and hopefully in a more contextualized way in this region. The fellowship also aims to help people increase their network. It's very much seeming to be needed as you want to get more involved in the movement and to do this work with a career in mind. We also try to identify opportunities to match people in these countries who are interested in the issue to be linked to career opportunities. This is not something I'll go into detail, but a glance of our curriculum that's broken down into just an introduction on the issue and trying to have an overview of what's happening in Southeast Asia. And then some of the interventions that are considered quite impactful to be highlighted to people who are not so familiar with it, to eventually inform them on what they could potentially do next. When we look at trying to reduce farmed animal suffering in this region, we're very agnostic in our approach. Although our fellowships are called farm animal welfare, we think that it's a good thing if out of the fellowship, people come out trying to do more in the plant-based movement building space in their countries. We also would like to see from the fellowship people doing more farm animal welfare work in this region. And while we don't focus on this, we also think that the potential of alternative protein trying to change the landscape of how food is produced is very high. So we provide some exposure to people. And if they do come out of the fellowship thinking this is the path for them, we do think it's a good thing. So we're very agnostic in terms of what paths and actions people take after the fellowship. The title of my talk is on capacity building. So what do we actually refer to? When we talk about capacity building, what we are thinking of is looking at Southeast Asia currently. If we can build the capacity in this region, we hope to see more organizations dedicated to farmed animal advocacy work being based out of here. And we also would like to see more people working directly in these areas. And when we talk about capacity building, we also think about professionalization. A lot of people that we spoke to or come across sometimes don't imagine this as a career. While volunteers and the grassroots movements are really important, we do think that there's a lot of room for growth in terms of professionals working directly in these areas to engage in areas like corporate engagement, research, policy advocacy work. So this is one area that we hope we can see more of happening as the movement develops in this region. We also think that the network and community is very important. So that's also something that we try to contribute towards, as well as just public awareness on the issue. And the why is that Southeast Asia is actually still in its infancy when it comes to this issue. So we do think that a lot can be done to help empower people to do more. We also have a lot of animals that are produced for food in this region. And so factory farming as an issue is huge. It's not very coordinated yet. And we are interested in seeing whether we can help more locally grown organizations exist in this region. And we do think that given the infancy of the movement in this region in Southeast Asia, more localized approaches are needed. And so we do need more local people getting involved and trying to figure out more solutions that's more adapted to this region. And this region is very, very different in terms of the geography, the culture, the political landscape, economic landscape. So our fellowship aims to try to incorporate the cultural sensitivities in this fellowship, not just importing what has happened and succeeded elsewhere, but trying our best to update the curriculum based on what we know would be more relevant. In our fellowship, we also try to consider effective animal advocacy with a few factors in mind, because there are so many animals out there that we could potentially help. We wanted to be able to figure out how do we do it more effectively such that more animals can be helped. The little resources that we have can be maximized with as much marginal impact as possible. So factory farm animals are the target group because they're really huge in scale. We also look at what's neglected and what's solvable. So these are some considerations that we have in deciding what programs to go after, what interventions to try to recommend and promote in this region to try and see more impact. When we talk about big, as mentioned, this region has a lot of both land and aquacultured animals that produce. So the welfare and is something that is extremely neglected. And when we talk about neglected, we were also considering how can we help build capacity when from our understanding, when we started the program, less than 5 organizations in Southeast Asia are fully focused on this issue. So there's a lot to do when this region has so many animals that are farmed. And we don't want to just think about what is the issue that's largest in scale and what's neglected. We also want to know if there are actionable solutions that can be done that actually can have an impact on the animals that we want to target. So we know they exist from speaking to people who are very kind and generous with their time to share with us what they've done. It includes in Southeast Asia, there has already been some corporate outreach campaigns, public awareness campaigns, producer engagement, corporate engagement, so on and so forth. So we know that things are happening, and we hope that through our program, we can contribute a little bit to scaling these things up. Speaking of the fellowship, back to it, what were the criteria for accepting fellows for this program? Generally, we are just wanting to know that people care about the issue and that they have an interest in trying to have a career in this area, because time spent in our career is huge. Some estimate it to be 80,000 hours that we spend in our career. So if we have more people spending their careers in this issue, we think that there can be a bigger dent in the cause. We also look out for the mindset towards effective animal advocacy. Are we open-minded to change our approaches if we find that there is evidence showing that some things work better than others? And for the first round of the fellowship, we were needing participants to be fluent in English, which is a bit of a shame. We know that could be a barrier, but it was meant to be something that can allow as many people to participate in the same space as much as possible. I won't go through these, but if people are thinking, okay, what careers can you have in this area of work? There are actually a lot. Not only can there be more people doing outreach, research, organizations that exist also need help with operations, and they need program officers targeting with skills that can work with corporates, that can work with policymakers. So we do think that there are lots of career paths that has the potential to exist more of in this region. And our fellowship tries to help people get into these paths. Just a quick photo of some of the fellows who participated in the fellowship in the first round. Many of them actually have gone from not working in the space to actually getting a job with an organization. So this is quite heartening, and we do want to replicate more of the program to help more people get into the movement. So far, we found that our fellows generally have been satisfied with the overall experience. Would recommend to others, and one of the things that they also found very useful were the connections that they were able to form, not just amongst each other, but with speakers and also local advocates who have been working in the space for a long time. This fellowship mostly was able to help people increase their knowledge, and especially as far as we can in the Southeast Asia context. But we do find that there are gaps. For example, there are skills that the fellowship weren't able to help address to be more job ready. So that's something that we would explore further post-fellowship. What can be done to help people increase their skills in this area of where the work is needed. And we also understand that our fellowship has mostly been more entry-ish, more introductory in its level of content. So what we weren't able to do in this fellowship was with leadership development. And another gap that we see in building capacity for the movement here in this region are projects. It seems that there are some project ideas that are out there, but there's no program that can really help this project go from ideation to eventually launching, implementing. So this is another gap that we do see after the end of our fellowship. So we did complete one round of it, and we've just been kind of known for that round. What we do want to do is to replicate that, and the next phase that we're in is to try to run this fellowship in Vietnamese. We are also looking for a country manager, so in case anybody who's interested, you can reach out to me. We are looking at hiring someone to help us with this fellowship round. This is why is it in Vietnamese is because we are still in this phase of hypothesizing that if people can get access to a program like this, they can go from being generally interested in the issue to dedicating a lot more of their efforts to working in this space. And we found that some countries in Southeast Asia, it seems that English is still more widely spoken than others. So we are just testing out if we have one of the fellowships in a local language, would it reduce the barrier of access to the movement for people? So that's something that we are trying to test out in the next round. How you can get involved if you're interested in what I've said is, first of all, maybe not this group of folks because you're probably quite familiar with the issue, but for people who are newer to the issue, we encourage people to try and think around effective animal advocacy. What can I do that can have a greater impact? And if you are more experienced, we are also looking for people who could be potential mentors. So we would love to get to know you, and when the time comes, to tap into you as a resource for our fellows. If there are organizations in this region with job openings, we would love to hear about them, because after the fellowship, we do continue to share what opportunities there are to the fellows who have completed the program, so that people who are interested when the time is ready, they can try and look into some of these opportunities. We would love to connect with people who would like to help grow the community and network further. And if you're in a position to join the next round, we will be putting up applications later in the year for the next round of fellowships. So you can keep a lookout to join the next one. Some of the things that we hope we can see years down the road within the next few years is that as we build more capacity in this region, we can also see more projects that could be potentially impactful and relevant to Southeast Asia get launched. What it exactly looks like, we are actually not super clear. We think that there's still a lot to explore. So basically, I've shared with you our very key program that we're trying to replicate and try and scale more of with the attempt to try and help the movement grow in this region. So if you're interested in what we do, this is where you can reach out to us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Currently, we're doing a couple of hirings. So if you're interested in working with us, we also would love to hear from you. So yeah, thank you for having us here, and I'll pass it on back to Fan.
Thank you very much, Wani. And congratulations on running the course. It's very important, and it's the first of its kind in Southeast Asia. And yeah, if any participant here wants to ask any question, just please use the Q&A button. Now I'll leave the floor for Mr. Yu Huo Yong, who's from Good Food Fund, yeah, for his to introduce his kind work. Mr. Wu.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, I can see it. Yeah.
Oh. Cool. Hi, everybody. My name is Yu Hua. It's really an honor to be here today in this session. I'm really excited to share with you what we have done at Good Food Fund. I certainly have learned a lot from Wan Yi and Xiaoya, previous two speakers, and I feel quite inspired and encouraged by their work as well. So I'll start with my presentation today. Before I go into the details about our Good Food Youth program, I would like to give you all a bit of background information about the Good Food Fund.
I'm sorry, Mr. Yu Huo. Sorry for interrupting, but your screen is looking really small. Can you make it wider? Yep, looking better. Yes, better. That's good. Thank you.
Cool. So yes, a little background information about Good Food Fund. So the Good Food Fund is a special project fund established in 2017 to promote the development and transformation of healthy and sustainable food systems in China. It operates under the China Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development Foundation, which is one of China's first publicly funded foundations to be accredited by the Ministry of Civil Affairs in China. And in 2019, we released the Good Food Pledge. It established the frameworks and aspirations for food system transformation. In accordance with these principles and aims, the Good Food Fund continues to explore solutions to problems within our food systems. So there are 8 different principles. The first 3, plan forward, animal welfare, and healthy eating, are the ones we put much emphasis on. And also there are reduce waste, local and seasonal, circular economy, preserve biodiversity, and food education. So based on those principles, we had some programs in the past or ongoing. So we have a China Action Hub, which is a collaborative mechanism that bring together everybody that works in the food system transformation. We have a Meatless Monday China campaign. We have a wet market program. We have the youth program. We have an eco chef program, as well as a Mama's Kitchen programs. So these programs all work on different aspects or engages different stakeholders within the food system transformation. So back to today's topic, engaging youth, engaging in training the next generation of animal advocates. That is precisely what I do on a daily basis. So bear with me, there are some information here that is in Chinese. That is because our program is solely targeted to Chinese speaking population, and all of our content are in Chinese. So some of the promotional material or content are in Chinese. So for example, this one is a recruiting poster for the first cohort of our program in 2022. So the target audience of our program is university students and young professionals under the age of 35. And the goal is to promote youth food literacy and empower students to become the change makers. And also we are really want to get actionable proposals from these students. We'll talk a bit more about the proposals later. And for those proposals, we have set settings. So we want to make sure that those proposals target growth meal settings, such as school dining halls and cafeterias in the schools. So some of the features, key features of this program, the first one would be an online training camp. So participants will learn the concept of food systems and sustainable and healthy eating. And they will form groups to work together and develop a plan or proposal to promote healthy eating on campus. Also, we provide soft skills improvement and internship opportunities as well. So during the program, we will invite experts and young leaders in the field of food system transformation to share their insights and experiences as well. And after the training camp, we will provide some internship opportunities within the Good Food Fund or some partner organizations. So the three main pillars, the first one is food literacy with focus on farmed animal welfare and plant-based diet. That being said, we do provide a lot of the learning materials on the topic of food from the lens of a food system. So we want to make sure that the participants are looking at this individual problems from a more systematic perspective. And we believe that's how it should be solved. We can't work on silos. It has to be, everybody has to work together to collaborate. And it is indeed an interconnected issue, farm animal welfare, that is. Also, the second pillar is a capacity building. So we have workshops to foster actionable ideas. So in these workshops, we will provide tools and frameworks to come up with proposals, actionable proposals. And we really put an emphasis on feasibility and whether they could put into practice. And the third pillar is global collaboration. So it is really an opportunity to showcase what Chinese youth have been doing in this food system transformation field. And it's also a recognition for their efforts. We also hope that based on this collaboration, they can somehow attract more potential students to join our program as well. So here are some mentors for our workshop or our program. So here are some of them. We have over 20 mentors right now. Here actually we have Mona from ACTAsia, and we have Alicia from Effective Altruism China. So although we don't know each other, I mean, we haven't met with Wan Yi and Xiaoya before, but apparently we are working together and collaborating. So I think we can look forward more collaboration in the future as well. So I'd like to share with you some of the milestones we have achieved. Apart from the online training camp, in this youth program, we do have some aspects of communications and engagement. So last year, we established this Agri-Food Youth Network. So Agri-Food is a global youth initiative that galvanizes youth to take actions to transform the food systems. So last year, the United Nations Food System Summit, Action Track 2, China Action Hub. So under this China Action Hub, we had this network established, and over 50,000 students participated in our food literacy contest and signed the pledge. Also, we have finished our first cohort of the youth program. So a lot of students and talented youth from dozens of universities across the country gathered online, gained knowledge and friends, and began to actively engage in making change happen during the 5 weeks of learning. Also last year, we have a Good Food Youth Summit. So we had 69 youth participated in the summit, and 26 participants finished design and had this project proposal finished for 9 projects, covering 4 different food system topics. So some of them would be food education. One of them is promoting cage-free eggs in school dining halls. So this Good Food Youth Summit was really the first attempt or a trial of our current youth program. And also last year, we held this youth leading sustainable food production and consumption roundtable during the Nanjing Peace Forum. And after this roundtable, all the participants, so these are participants from government, international organizations, universities, food and beverage industry, and also youth representatives. So all the participants inspired and encouraged each other and jointly signed the Nanjing Good Food Initiative. So that is also an engagement we've done to further engage more youth to join our actions. And earlier this year, we partnered with Harvard University to hold a nudge-a-thon. So the theme of this nudge-a-thon was to promote plant-based offerings at their dining halls as a method to cut down carbon emissions. So during this nudge-a-thon, 5 teams of our youth program participants joined to design nudges to promote plant-based diet. Also earlier this year, we collaborated with XJTLU, a university in China. And the participants also come up with a lot of actionable projects to promote plant-based diet in their school dining halls. And it is currently being carried out in their International Business School campus in Suzhou as well. I believe that concludes my presentation. Here are some partners. If you have any questions or you would like to learn more about what we're doing at the Good Food Fund, you can reach out to us. I look forward to the discussion, to the panel that's coming up, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yu. That's and I'm really glad that the last two speakers are really mindful on keeping the time tight, and thank you all for that. Now it's the time for Q&A. If you have any questions that you want to address to the any speaker here directly, please raise your hand or use the Q&A button. In the meantime, we already have some questions for our lovely speakers. The first question goes to Mr. Yu, and yeah, the question is, can you tell us more about the lunch-a-thon? Like, it's a very interesting idea, and what sort of lunches were there?
Oh, sorry, you were just breaking up a little bit. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, okay, sorry. We, like in your presentation, there was a lunch-a-thon, like terms and contests, and that's a very interesting idea. And so what sorts of nudges were there?
Okay, so for example, a very simple one would be using colors to, well, there are different ways to use colors, but one of them is to use different colors of light. So for meat dishes, they can use colder light, which makes the dishes more unpleasant. And they use warmer light for plant-based dishes, which makes them more appetizing. So that's a very interesting hint for students who line up at those different windows or different aisle for their food. That's one of them. Yeah. And also they can use different utensils, so different colors of the utensils. So for like fork, if you order a meat dish, you would get a red fork, which indicates higher carbon emission, and it just looks more alarming. And if you order a plant-based option, then you get a green fork. So things like that.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you very much. And I hope that answers the question. And the second question, and this time it goes to Wendy. And the question that you mentioned a need for more skill development. And so what sort of skills do you see the need to introduce to your fellowship? And were there any specific questions from your graduates?
Thanks for the question. We are still currently, it's just at an observation level, some of the skills that probably is still a gap after knowing the issue, whether people are ready for work. For example, corporate engagement is a very specific skill and very niche skill, knowing how to present the issue. While being an advocate, we might not actually be speaking in the same way and tone. So that takes a lot of skills and knowing how to approach corporates in this region. When we talk about corporate engagement, currently seems that cage-free eggs are still one of the most lower hanging fruits that can be targeted. Some other skills that are needed might be research, the type of research that's needed to fill in the knowledge gaps on what are the issues looking like in Southeast Asia, because we're not assuming that the issues and the approaches and the solutions are all adaptable wholesale here in this region. Some other types of skills could be policy, advocacy types of work, even operations. Working in this movement, you don't have to always be contributing with direct work skills. All organizations, if they can solve the operations issue, they could be a more effective organization overall. So we don't have a particular program design currently to address the skills, but to that question, what we can say is what we've observed is there are fellows who, although they have managed to get into jobs, some of them could probably benefit from more skills training for what they want to do.
Thank you, Wendy. And we have another question, and this time it's to you again, Wendy. Have you had any requests from other animal advocacy movements, such as companion animals or wild animal welfare, to utilize your fellowship model?
No, we haven't. I think maybe we are too embedded in the farmed animal space. So mostly we have been interacting mostly with counterparts involved in the issue. Although that's an interesting question, because we have got fellows who initially they were interested in companion animal issues. And through their involvement in that space, they got to think and know more about farmed animal issues. So there have been people who joined our fellowship and actually put more efforts into farmed animals currently than before. But on the other, using this model for other animals, we haven't really met people asking that question yet.
Yep, thank you. We have another question, and I think this is suitable for you both. The question is like, did you have any difficulty in finding the participants, the fellows for your course, and what are the other challenges in your work? Yeah, I'm not sure who do you want to address first.
Yuhua, should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Of course, there are lots of challenges. Well, whether we had any difficulties finding participants, not so much. It might be because, as Daniel mentioned, this is one of the first type of fellowship of such that we've run. So we are not quite sure when we would hit a cap, because the issue is not as well known. So we're not sure, like in the next few rounds we actually hit a plateau, like a saturation point of potential applicants. So far not too bad. We accepted half or less than half of those who applied into the fellowship. As for challenges, I think despite the many, probably one of the outstanding ones would be, we had hoped that through our fellowship we could also see more projects launching in this region. Currently, that is something that we're still figuring out. How can we support that more? Maybe I need to check in with Yuhua, because they were able to launch more projects through that program. But the challenge is mostly because fellows you usually don't have a lot of capacity. Taking part in the fellowship is already on top of their full-time job or their studies. So trying to think of something that they want to do in terms of launching as a project that could have some level of impact in this region. We don't have enough mentors. Because we keep going back to the same people, and they've given us a lot of time already. And we also don't have enough ideas out there. Sometimes trying to find partners from within the fellowship or outside the fellowship to collaborate, to implement some challenges. So we're still trying to reevaluate this part. How can we be of better support to people who might have good ideas and want to launch projects in this region? Yeah, that's
Thank you,
about it.
Wendy. Yeah, That's very clear. And Mr. Yuhua, you want to add anything?
Sure. I think our programs are quite similar, and so that means we share some similar challenges as well. But getting participants is not challenging for us. Our program is also quite new, so it's probably because of that. But getting participants, we do have a lot of applicants. And actually, we were overwhelmed by the amount of applicants for our first cohort. The thing is, finishing the program and deliver the final proposal we're expecting is the most challenging part, because farmed animal welfare is just such a new thing in China, and people just don't know how to deal with it. So although we provide them with this food system knowledge, but again, food system is a new word as well. So we're still exploring ways to make sure that they are interested and there are some clear pathways for them to take real actions. So, for example, like there's a saying that knowledge is power, but we find that how to deliver that power, how to deliver that knowledge is really key. So that is what we're trying to explore, and that is the most challenging part for us. And right now we're looking at design thinking, like try to use the designers, their process of looking at the problem with empathy, using their different processes that could be helpful, but that's something we're looking at right now.
Yeah, that's really, really impressive and really true as well, Mr. Yu. Thank you very much for your question, for your answer. And I would like to say that last question is the end of our session today, and there are a few other questions that are not addressed. We will send it to the speakers here, and hope that yeah, we'll be in touch to share the answer with you. Yeah, and I would like to wish you both best of luck, and the ACTAsia program as well. Best of luck with your program. This is really important in our building movement. So let's keep in touch and work together to make an even stronger, more effective program for the next generation. Thank you very much. And thank you all, everyone, for supporting the session and participating in this one. I'll see you in the next. Bye-bye.
Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you. Bye.